What is up, iCkEdMeL? Welcome back. And many people have been asking me about the News Nation clip that I was on last night, the segment, and I got the green light. I'm bringing you the episode. I was on with Mike King from Profiling Evil. I'll put the links to his channel down below if you want to check him out, as well as Phil Grimaldi from Police Off the Cuff, and Kelly Beeson, who was the host last night, stepping in for Ashleigh Banfield. And so I'll put those links down for News Nation as well. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Let's go.
We now turn to the panel. Mike King is a 30-year law enforcement veteran and now creator and host of the Profiling Evil podcast and YouTube channel. Phil Grimaldi is a retired New York police detective who's worked hundreds of murder cases and now hosts the popular podcast Police Off the Cuff. And Melvin Cedeno is a true crime YouTuber known for debunking false information around popular cases, including this one. So Melvin, we'd love to start with you. You've been through every page of the TikTok tarot card reader lawsuit and viewed all of her videos. Do you think for her this is about getting followers, or is she just committed to her so-called reading?
Thanks for having me on. I think it's like both. It's one of the most viewed stories on her TikTok page. Plus, she calls herself to be clairvoyant on her webpage, and that's a person who claims to have supernatural ability to perceive events in the future or beyond normal sensory contact. And she also says that she uses her ability to solve her mysteries. And so I feel like she's on this train, and that's her belief system. And so to admit that she's wrong would be to deny her entire thoughts and videos and everything.
Interesting. So, Mike, we've heard of cases where police bring in a psychic to help, but how can a renegade like Ashleigh Gillard actually hurt a case like this?
Well, I think the important thing to concentrate on is maybe not what's being uncovered by these amateur sleuths, but the way in which it's being shared. And we know that law enforcement hasn't given any credence to the things that she has to say. They've discounted what she has to say. And that's not to in any way diss other folks that do these kinds of things. Law enforcement's leaned on them for years. The challenge is, and the problem that I'm having, and I think law enforcement has, is this individual's going public with stuff. And when it's appearing that, and she's receiving information that it's off base, she's continuing. And I think that's really pretty thin ice to be standing on.
Yeah, certainly. I think many would agree. So, Phil, I want to turn to those images that are floating around online, supposedly leaked from the Corner Club security cameras. What are police looking for in security footage like this?
Well, they'd be looking for any unusual behavior, aggressive behavior towards victims, or perhaps even someone laying in the background could be stalking the individuals. If there was some type of an argument or some type of altercation, those are the types of things that they would be zeroing in on, and then they would try to identify who it was that the victims were engaged with.
Okay, that makes sense. So, Mike, do you think they've cleared Kaylee's ex for good, or could a person of interest become, quote unquote, of interest again?
Oh, absolutely. They can become an of interest again. And that's the difference between an officer who makes a decision up front and then twists every theory or fact that comes out to fit what they believe may or may not have happened. As new information comes out on this case, if it points back to any individual, and there are many that we've been told are cleared, if it pointed back to any of them, I think any would rise back up to the surface until officers can vet that and either use that additional evidence and information to bring them closer to responsibility or push them farther away on the spectrum. So a good cop is going to continue to look at this, and every piece of new information that comes up is going to be the next thing that drives the direction they're going.
So, and to your point, Melvin, we've heard from Kaylee's ex, Jack DeCour's relatives about how hurtful the speculation around him is. So why do you think online sleuths just won't let him go as a suspect?
I think part of it's like maybe Occam's razor or the law of parsimony, which is like people just going for the simplest explanation, or somebody that's close to the victim, and there's logical reasons for motive, I guess, like the breakup and her kind of moving on, it seems like. And I think also that maybe just people have an easier time believing that it's somebody close than just a random person out there killing people. It makes them feel more comfortable, maybe accepting.
I got it. Well, and I'll just pose this question to the panel. Do you think this is like the Gone Girl effect? Everyone just assumes it's the ex because they look at statistics, or is there some reasoning behind that? I know you kind of outlined that a little bit, Melvin.
I'm going to jump in first, Phil, and Melvin, I hope you're okay with that. But I think Melvin was right on with a really important thing, and that is that sometimes it's just easy to pick out something to solve the problem. We all want the problem solved. Sometimes these murder cases don't get solved, but we cannot go with these cut and dried cookie cutter approaches that because this was a young girl who had friends that have disappeared or somebody's not talking, we cannot assume that this was a targeted event where the victim was known by the offender or the attacker. It could be that it was entirely opportunistic and this was just somebody who was completely unknown to them. So for us to be jumping into these conclusions when we're not the investigators and we're not the people holding all the cards is really irresponsible of all of us.
You know, what statistics show is that usually in murder cases, 85% of the time, it's someone known to the victim. I think that police have an obligation to look at that. They look at the boyfriend. There was a breakup. However, they felt satisfied to put out in media that they felt that he was cleared. That doesn't mean they can't go back if further information or evidence is developed down the line that they could put him in the trick bag as being possibly the perpetrator of this horrific crime. But I would look at his stature. I would look at his build. I'm going to say, go out on a limb. The FBI profilers haven't gone public with anything, but I think that the murderer in this case is going to be a big, strong person that overpowered 4 individuals, and the knife was specific, so I think that person may have some type of hunting background. That was a specific knife, and I do believe that either the house or one of the victims, perhaps several of the victims, were targeted and were known to the perpetrator.
And yeah, I agree with everything they've said, and I even thought of a story where there was this 4-year-old girl from Australia. She went missing, Cleo Smith, from her parents' tent, and everybody thought it was the parents. Everybody was going for the parents, harassing them and all this kind of stuff, and it turned out to be some random person that came there in the middle of the night and took this little girl out of the tent. So yeah, we do have to be careful.
Certainly. And just digging in a little deeper on that, Phil, I'll ask you this. Moscow police have said that they will go after anyone harassing any students. So can these social media accusations against Coeur eventually lead to charges or a lawsuit, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. There are 2 things that jump out of the penal law at me. Aggravated harassment, which is when you use an electronic device to annoy, harass, or threaten someone. Now, the person can only perceive it as a threat. So if you say something like, turn yourself in or else, and the person perceives that as a threat, you could be guilty of aggravated harassment. And then there are stalking statutes within the penal law when unwanted following or contact by a person or individual that a victim doesn't want to have contact with that person. You could fall into those 2, and then you'll go up from there. And you also have the possibility of a civil lawsuit. I think if you defame someone or you do things that cause them to lose income, let's say they lose their job, you could have a very strong lawsuit in a civil case.
So, Melvin, we've seen people hurt from accusations in this case. Is this just the new world of true crime obsession, or can police do something, do you think, to curb this?
For me, it just doesn't feel like they can do much. Just from my own personal experience, I've gone through that myself. I've seen others go through that. It seems like a lot of times it's just a civil matter. You got to make a police report it, and protect yourself. I just wish that like some of these social media platforms would do something. A lot of the times things just, nothing happens. You report it, people report it. And a lot of times I don't see that anything gets done. They just get allowed to say all kinds of stuff, and people get death threats, and there's just the algorithm helps them grow even further and get more views off of this,
Yeah, that makes sense. So we have about a minute left, but Mike and Phil, we heard Moscow police are bringing in counseling services for the department. In your experience, we talked to Nancy about this a little bit. How hard is a case like this, smack in the middle of the holidays with few leads, for detectives?
Well, I'm going to jump on that. There are certain things that you see as a police officer, as a detective. I had over 22 years on the police force, and you can't unsee those things. You live with those things. And I am certain that the investigators on this case have not been celebrating holidays, birthdays, or even going out to dinner with their families. They're probably working around the clock on this thing. And I would think that that's the way I would handle a case. You're all in it. You're the assigned investigators on this. You have to give it your all.
All right, we have about 30 seconds.
You can't keep filling the bucket with ugly and not have it overflow. You got to get balance, and the officers need balance. Sometimes that balance comes in the form of counseling. Sometimes it comes in the form of just getting away and going for a drive. But they've got to have a way to give them balance. And then they've got to have a way to help officers who traditionally think, I can't show any emotion, that it's okay to show emotion. They probably have kids that are the age of these kids. They probably have family members that are sisters or something. And these things become very personal, whether you like it or not.
And we appreciate their service here and around the country. Thank you. Mike King, Phil Grimaldi, and Melvin Cedeno. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Good night.
Thanks.
And that's it. Thank you guys so much again for watching me, for supporting me, the people that have been here with me through the years. I really, really, really appreciate that so much. I mean, and I get sometimes, like even last night, there was this beautiful call from somebody that supports me, that's been watching, that's been dealing with like cancer treatments. And she was telling me that it gets her through her day, you know, watching the videos. And honestly, sometimes I'm having a crappy day myself, or like personally, you know, I'm dealing with crap. And sometimes I come on here and I honestly, my day feels better just hanging out with you guys, talking with you guys, you know, covering whatever, even just watching videos. And sometimes that just gives me the energy. Even hear messages like she told me that actually helps me like keep going and like, you know, keep making videos and to not stop. And so, yeah, I love you guys and I appreciate that. It makes me just kind of, you know, want to continue to try to be a better person if I can and try to improve and everything if possible. So yeah, love you guys. Take care. Peace. Oh, and last night's segment, I thought it was pretty interesting. Even the part outside of when we were on panel, this lady, I believe her name is Nancy Wu, and she just has good things to say. I mean, I just like the things that she says on different topics, like the psychic situation. Yeah, Nancy Liu.
Today, the police department stressed again that it's only releasing information to the public that does not hinder.
So this is like it's a pretty decent show. I have YouTube TV now, and that's how I watch it when I'm actually not on panel. If I want to catch something in YouTube TV, you can share with multiple people, which I thought is kind of dope. So, but yeah, thank you so guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Take care. Peace. Bloop, 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 bloop.